Hello, everybody. Good afternoon from Dussen in the Netherlands. Welcome to this idyn partner training for ApproveIT 365, one of the more recent additions to our portfolio, developed in cooperation with DocuSign. My name is Nicholas. With me is Richard Lensink, who is our product owner. A little bit of housekeeping. If you want to ask questions, we encourage you, of course, to ask questions. Simply put them in the GoToWebinar questions pane, and we'll handle them after the call. Let's make it a bit interactive, so don't hesitate. And with that being said, I'm going to change the presenter to Richard, who will start sharing his screen and walk you through the solution.
Okay. So welcome to the training for ApproveIT. Today we will take a look at what we've implemented in the Q3 release. And there are a couple of new features, or mostly support for additional flows and documents. So with this release, we have added additional documents, the possibility to add additional documents. Previously, we allowed or generated the standard report according to the document that was used. And now we also have options available to add additional static documents. That last part is means that we allow to upload additional files during the process of sending it to DocuSign. Currently we don't allow additional reports to be generated during processing based on some records. So we have the main document that's generated based on the document that is sent, or for instance, the sales quote or sales order. And then we have additional documents that can be added as well. And we have options to even check or uncheck if that's even allowed. So if that's not allowed, then that's skipped entirely. And then a big part of this release was the support for additional documents, document types, application areas. So we've added support for all sales documents. Previously, we had the sales quotes, sales orders, and sales invoices, but now we support all sales documents, so also including return orders, credit memos, and blanket orders. And we've also added support for purchase documents, service documents, and for jobs and tasks. That support is not the same for all document types, because sales and purchasing pretty much allow for the same couple of flows where we have quotes that we can easily convert into orders or invoices. For service documents, that's a little bit different, and jobs, of course, don't have that distinction. But the basic flow to send documents to DocuSign will be the same, and that's something that I will show you in a minute in a Business Central environment. And with that change, we also have a setup where we can allow integration with custom document types or areas, since we, of course, have customers and partners that probably want to add these flows to their documents, but are not included in those 4 areas as, that are mentioned on screen. And of course, some documents might even be part of their own solution or third-party solution. So that's probably not something that we could support out of the box without creating the dependency. So for that, we have options to add those same actions to other documents and events that can be used to create that flow. Let's first start at the beginning. The functional change with regards to additional documents, and that's something that I can show in Business Central and partly in DocuSign. And with that, I will also repeat the basic flow for how we actually send documents to DocuSign to allow signing by the customer. So for this example, I will use the sales quote. I already have one here that's actually already sent, but I will send it again. So here, of course, we have our fields available where we have the status and when it was sent. And we have our options over here to start the flow, open the current log, cancel the document, or get the current status. In this case, I will start the flow. In the setup, I've set up or configured an option that allows us to restart the flow. Of course, it will still ask us if we want to restart, so I will choose yes. By default, the contact person that's also mentioned on the document will be added. And of course, we can add multiple recipients as well. In this case, we can select them from the existing contacts. We can also manually add them as well, but in most cases, we think that these would be existing contacts that are linked to the customer, or in the case of purchase documents, to the vendor. For now, I will keep it at this single one. This is added as a signer. We, of course, need at the very least one signer. And I will start without any DocuSign tabs. So with our setup, that will just generate one single signature box on the document. We have a setup, and that is something I will show you later, where it is configured how the signature box should be placed. But for now, we will simply continue with the flow. Here we have the attachments. This is a page that will only be shown if that option is enabled. So right now, I might want to add a new document. And here we can simply upload. So in this case, I want to set some terms and conditions that are available in a document. So this is currently added to the complete request to DocuSign. We could add multiple, that shouldn't be an issue. And let's click OK. And unfortunately, I messed with the email, so let's start again. In this case, I could leave it as this. Once again, add the additional documents, and this time, yeah, it should successfully send the request to DocuSign. Now let's check the email, and we currently have a new email in our inbox. So this is, in this case, the customer inbox that receives the document. And as you can see, this is, of course, in a demo environment with our email text, and the customer can review the document. So what we see here in this case is that we have the sales quote, and added to that is the additional document that's actually not part of the generated documents. So this is that additional document that I uploaded that's available in the same session. without leaving this document. So let's see what's available over here. So we have our generated sales code with the layout as used in Business Central. This, of course, being the standard Cronus layout. And we have a signature box that needs to be signed to complete this. If the signer wants to finish this, it is required to complete this first. And also, if someone clicks start, you will be guided to the next box to sign. So let's do that actually. Since it's not a physical signature, of course, we need to give a digital signature. In some way we can actually edit it as well, or actually draw it or upload something, but for now we set the standard DocuSign box, maybe change the style for now. That's all there is to sign. So the signature is applied. At this moment, it's still possible for the signer to edit this, but to complete it, we simply click finish. And at this point, the signer is completely finished and will receive an additional email as well that contains the documents that were attached, of course, with the signature. And there it is. If we go back to Business Central, right now we will still see that a document is sent, and this is of course because we don't currently know what just happened in DocuSign. We need to get the current status. We have a job queue entry for that, but for now we can also manually get that by selecting Get ApproveIT status. And that's set to completed. So that's the basic flow with the inclusion of that added document. Let's check some parts of the setup actually to see why we did what we actually did. So here we can see we have linked it to an acceptance environment, to the DocuSign account ID. We have a license key for ApproveIT, and here we have additional flow information for all application areas. So here we have the sales flow. As mentioned, I configured allow restart to set to true. If that's set to false, it's not possible to start the flow again if a document is already sent. And here we have the basic information that how we decided where to place the signature box. So in this case, we linked it to the text total. Let's actually open the document again. And you can see that that is this part total. And from there, we had an offset for the y-axis to 50, so 50 pixels in this case, below that text in total. Now that's the basic configuration where we only have the signature box. We also allow for the additional DocuSign tab sets where we can configure multiple fields. In this case, we have a tab set here where we have two fields. In this case, we have the signature box linked to the same anchor string with the same position, And below that, we have the full name. We might actually need to set that to 80. And we can add additional ones as well. For instance, the company name or the title. We can reuse the same anchor strings, or we can choose new ones. We can also use different measures, of course. However, in most cases, pixels will be fine. Additionally, and here, this is where the difference will be visible for the different application areas. For sales and purchase flows, we have a couple of options. First of all, the release signed documents only, where we enable or disable if it's only possible to release the documents if they are successfully signed. So the ApproveIT status needs to be completed. And at the same time, we also have the option to automatically release signed documents, so that is part of the flow when updating to the status completed. And specifically for sales and purchase, and for service actually, we have the option to convert quotes to orders, which, if enabled, will also automatically convert the quote to an order when the signing process is completed. Of course, for jobs, this is not really the case because we don't have different job documents in the form of a quote, an order, or an invoice. And we don't actually even have the release date in the same way. If we check the report email setup, this is where we actually find that new setting for the documents. So in this case, for the sales quote, I have enabled the add documents. That allows that additional page so that we can actually add additional documents. And here we have also set up for what language we use this, a default tab set that's used if we can actually edit the standard email, and then the standard email subject and body that's used in the email that is sent from DocuSign. If I were to enable this, then we would get an additional page in that flow to send a document to DocuSign, where we will get this information back and can edit it to create something more custom for the customer getting the quote or getting the document. Now let's actually create a new document. And let's add some lines as well. And actually, let's change the quote to also allow editing the email. Yeah. Okay, so let's start the flow again. Right now, we don't get the confirmation message, of course, because for this quote, we haven't sent a document yet. I will change the email in this case. And I will also use a tab set that we configure with some fields. as mentioned, we have that additional email page that I just enabled, where we can change this if we want to. And once again, of course, the additional documents that we could add. So let's add the same document again. So once again, it was successfully sent. And the signer gets a document with the modified text. And with the complete field set. So in this case, we have 3 fields available, all based on the same string, anchor string, which isn't required. Of course, we could choose different strings as well. However, in this layout, we don't really have that much of a choice to decide where we actually want it. So once again, we can click here to add the signature. The name is read-only because that's something that is decided here in full name and initials. However, the title is a field that we can actually change if required. However, it will try to get the default value. So once again, we can finish this. Let's actually check. Yeah, that's it. Great. We finish signing the document, and of course we can get the status to see that it was completed. We can also check actually in the log from DocuSign what actually happened. And here we can see with the oldest entry at the bottom that the envelope was registered with DocuSign. The user that actually did that, that the invitations were sent, also with the status up until that point. We can see that the signer opened and viewed documents, it was actually signed, and after it was completed, that we have copies that were sent by email and back to us as well. Now, if we go to the purchase quotes, for instance, we don't necessarily need quotes. However, that would make the most sense probably. We can actually see something similar. In this case, we already have completed a document, I believe. Yep. So let's actually create a new one for this as well. Well, for now, one will be enough. Here we have the same set of options available. So once again, we can simply start the flow here. course, we need to set up the signer. In this scenario, of course, we can simply check with a lookup for all related contacts. However, in this case, of course, to the vendor instead of the customer. And as you see, since we didn't enable the options for edit email or add documents, those pages aren't shown. We simply continue with the flow without those options, which was actually also the same flow as was introduced with the Q1 release of ApproveIT. So if you don't need those options, of course, you can simply let those options be disabled to make the flow as easy as possible. And we have our email. That's something that we did set up so that we have a different email text for purchase quotes. And once again, we see a document, in this case, generate a purchase quote, with the signature placed over here, I believe based, in this case, on the text shipped to address. You can basically use any string you want on the document as a reference for where to place the fields. However, of course, not every text is a logical place to add it to. And it's also good to know if you have multiple pages and you set the DocuSign field up to an anchor string, that if that anchor string is repeated on multiple pages, that the field will also be added to all the places where that anchor string is present. So for instance, if you have a document that can have multiple pages and you require the signer to approve each page or set their initials on each page, that is simply possible if you have some reference text that is repeated on each page, for instance, the page number. For now, we will simply finish this. And once again, manually get the status. And it's completed again. And also, one thing that I didn't mention actually in the previous flow, it's also added to the attachment. So we also have the document, the signed document back, of course, in Business Central. The same can be done for service documents. This one is also completed. I don't believe we can start again. Oh, in this case, we can actually restart. Okay. So once again, with the same options are available over here, with the main difference, of course, that in this case we use the service quote report to generate instead of a sales or purchase document. In this case, this is fine. And we have our email for the service code as well. Maybe good to also see, while it's not a new feature, at the very least good to see what the void document option does. So if we have sent a document, we could just say that we can restart the flow, but that might not be something that we actually want to be able to do. However, what you could always do, if the document is not completed yet, you could void the document so that DocuSign also knows that the document isn't valid anymore. For instance, if there is some wrong info here or some changes need to be done, so we can actually resend it. So here we can type in a void reason, and that's also something that it will be visible for the signer or the recipients. So if I choose cancelled, we will also see that the approved status will be changed to voided. We can also see this back in the log as well, including the reason. And we should also get an email where we can see the reason as well. Or this is actually what the recipient gets to see. Now we've looked at sales documents, purchase documents, and service documents. The last part where it was added was the jobs. And let's actually open a previous one. And once again, the same options are available. The flow works pretty much the same, with the exception, of course, the document that is generated. And once again, we, in this case, since I didn't select the typeset, we have our signature box available that needs to be signed to complete this document. Now, the way that this works for all those different types of documents on the technical side is that most of the solution simply works with record refs. So that also allows for custom objects to be processed. In the process, we do check for certain fields. So that's something that is important to check, because of course we want to know the status, and we want to also give back the result when the document was sent, who the document was sent by, and when it was completed. So those are things that should be added with a table extension, and of course, if it needs to be visible, also with a page extension. And we can also add these page actions as well at the same with the same options. So that's the basic structure that is needed, and from there we do need some to add some events. What we will do is also make a small demo repository available on our help where this is explained, so that you can also add these or or your own document types if you have your own solution, or if you have a third-party solution that needs to be integrated with this to make sure that you can use this flow as well. Because from here, if you only start this, it's simply a question. What it basically does is get the default report usage for this document that can be set up within Standard Business Central, and that will be generated based on this record. And from there, the flow is pretty much the same, with only some things that need to be checked. For instance, what kind of contacts or business relations are selected. If that's, for instance, to the customer or the vendor or something else entirely. But the rest of this solution should be very generic, based on the DocuSign envelope ID, which is stored on this document in Business Central. Additionally, we can add, I don't believe we don't currently have that in that sample in the demo repository, but we could add some fact boxes as well for documents that don't currently have those attachments, those documents displayed. For instance, in the standard solution, I believe that the jobs and service documents had very limited info in those fact boxes. So that's something that we can add so that the user can see those documents as well, in the same way that as they would with the sales and the purchase orders, or sales and purchase documents, I should say. And once you have that working for instance, if you have documents that also contain something like quotes, orders, invoices, that same kind of structure, once you have it working for one of those, it's very easy to also expand that to multiple document types with that same table, or with that same record ref. Since most of the solution looks at that record ref as a basis to check, do we already know an ApproveIT envelope ID or DocuSign envelope ID, and to update the status and the dates. I don't believe that I currently have it set up over here. Let me check. I haven't included that yet. Let me check if I can add this pretty quickly to the container as well. That is if VS Code wants to load. So let's actually check. In this demo repository, I've added ApproveIT to our ShipIT solution, specifically to the transport orders. Here we can actually see that I've added the fields here as well, not really translated yet to anything with proper captions. But we can also see that the menu options are added over here as well. However, in this case, I need to check because I don't have any example transport orders at this moment. Oh, and that, of course, doesn't work when there is an error. So let's try it again. That's better, although at this point I don't believe we can actually, well, we don't, of course, can do this because we don't have it sent yet. So this, once again, this is an example that we will add with working page actions to our help to give you a quick start if you want to make use of that. To give you the foundation to build upon to add this to custom documents as well. And there, of course, we will also show which events should be used for the, integrating into the ApproveIT solution. So that's all there is for this session. I should open this one. I don't know if there are any questions at the moment.
Yes, there's just, well, there was a question from Simon about where in the document that you can place the signature box, but you spoke about that after the question was asked.
Yeah.
And then there's another one that when does the documentation or explanation to add a third-party order type like the transport order become available?
Yeah, so that will be added tomorrow.
Okay.
So that should be available very quickly. Just need to, as you could see, I need to double check some things in the repository as well to make sure that we properly have a proper example that works out of the box.
Okay. Then we're out of questions.
Okay.
Thanks, Richard. Going to close this call. Anything else you would like to ask, or if you want our help in setting up demos or anything like that for customers, let us know through sales@idyn.nl. This is Nicholas and Richard checking out from Dussen. Thanks for joining. Take care. Bye-bye.